Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Pitch Cafe Academy. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to come up with really good startup ideas. I know that a lot of people out there who are in college and who are pursuing a degree want to come up with startup ideas. We also have a lot of people working in corporations who are exposed to many customer needs who want to come up with a startup idea. But really, what does it take to come up with a good startup idea? 9 out of 10 startups go through failures because they are not thought through properly. And today I'm going to teach you two important things. The first thing is how to come up with a startup idea creatively. And the second thing is how to make sure that the idea you have picked is a really good startup idea. So the first problem most people face when they come up with a startup idea is they would have looked at somebody complaining about something and they want to get started with the startup idea. That is a great way to think about a startup idea, but first thing you need to do when you feel that there is a need for a startup because of the idea or the complaint you just heard is validate your startup idea. If you have discovered that there is a pain point somebody is going through, let's say there is a last mile delivery problem of food in your location, or you went to some village and you felt that they are having a problem making payments in that village, you want to improve that village and you want to target many villages. So people come up with startup ideas in various kinds of situations. So one of the most common ways people can come up with startup ideas is if they are exposed to an environment they have not been in, or if they put themselves through new experiences. So once you come up with a startup idea like this, you have to validate. The first thing you have to validate is this something your customer is going to pay for? Is it something like a nice to have? It's just something for an extra comfort. It's not like the customer is going to completely be inconvenienced if your idea or startup idea is implemented. So that's the first thing you need to look at. Is this like a pain or is it just a comfort? Once you validate that, look at the market size. Any startup founder, the first thing you need to do is explain to somebody else how big your customer segment is. Is it a $1 billion? Is it 10 billion? Is it a $1 trillion market segment? Skill sharing was one of the most common things which people targeted as a startup domain when there was pandemic. Online payments, online tutorials, education technology or ed tech, these were all the domains most people targeted, but very few companies like Byju's or White Hat Junior, they were successful at this. Why is that? Why is it so hard to build a business online? Because you're targeting a niche segment which is very small and you're not able to reach them. So you have to choose an idea which has a large scale, and you have to make sure that when you start off your startup idea or the first proof of concept, it's a very small niche segment where you can focus and build a product and later on expand. No investor will be interested in working on a startup idea which has a really small market. You have to have a large market where your product fits in. Now, that is one way to validate your startup idea. Another way to validate your startup idea is make sure you talk to at least 100 customers when you build your first product. At least 100. Because if you look at the top incubators and accelerators like Y Combinator or Techstars or any such startup ecosystem, they make you talk to 80 to 100 customers every week literally. So you have to talk to a lot of people with your startup idea or the proof of concept you have built. And if you're failing, fail right there. Don't fail after 2.5 years of putting your valuable time and effort and energy and you don't see much traction. So you constantly have to interact with your customer to make sure that your startup idea is valid. Now, we went through two concepts until now. The first thing is how to come up with a startup idea. Startup ideas happen by experience. That is, if you expose yourself to new experiences. and how to validate a startup idea. I talked about market size, and I talked about how you should talk to at least 100 customers. There are a couple of other ways to come up with new startup ideas. I use them in my workshops. One of them is called as the random stimulation technique. For example, let's say you're in a AI domain and you want to come up with startup ideas in AI. The technique is called random stimulation technique. You think about this idea for a while and then you take your mind off, go for a run or take a road trip and go 10 days for a vacation. You expose yourself to new kinds of sights, sounds, stimulations, and once you come back, try to connect all those experiences with your idea and you restate your idea. For example, after you think about your AI startup idea in healthcare, you may want to merge your experiences in travel, in hiking, in biking with this idea and then reformulate your idea. So random stimulation can happen by new experiences in sights, sound, stimulation, travel. So this is one technique which works. But after that, please validate your idea with market size and with customer validation. With that, I'd like to conclude today's tutorial on how to come up with great startup ideas. I'll talk more in upcoming segments. There are many more ways to come up with startup ideas. This is an entire day's workshop which I have hosted with MIT Media Lab, with folks from Stanford, and in India, in a lot of design and business schools, we've hosted this. So please check out more tutorials from me about how to come up with new startup ideas. With that, this is your host Vidyangi Patil and wishing you a lot of scale and success. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.